So I wanted to bring up something that is very important, and it's about being enlightened and illuminated. I was listening to this book, The Legend of the Holy Grail and its connection with Templars and Freemasons. So the Freemasons started out as something good. They did. Like our founders, it was something good. But like every group, it gets taken into the wrong direction. And it becomes a group that then only, it helps its members, and then they get into these big political positions, and then they have power, and they help people within their group, but they really never become enlightened. And much of the problem here is that you have these quests that people think that, well, if we find the Holy Grail, then we'll be illuminated. No. If we find the hidden church of Jesus, we'll be illuminated. No. If we find the sword that they stabbed Jesus with when he was on the cross, we'll be illuminated. No. No. Those are objects. Can they offer, if they're found, can they offer some knowledge and help? Sure. But the illumination is in here. That's why the church was in here. And I say this because the Freemasons are trying to clean up. They're being transparent now. So this book didn't really say a whole lot, but it was a lot about finding the Holy Grail and some of their mystery teachings. And it doesn't. Their mystery teachings aren't really anything that are mystery. You will find the answers to the universe if you're meant to, but you will find them by going in here. We have this major leadership problem, right? Not just at the president level, but at all of our institutions of education, healthcare, federal agencies, CDC. There is a major incompetence in leadership. And I've seen this long before waking up 5 years ago. I saw there was something really wrong in nursing, and it was coming from the very top. Because what you need in leadership is, like our founders believed in, a country of enlightened people. It's in many of their papers or their letters. I've gone on foundersarchives.gov and read a lot of their letters, and they talk a lot about illumination and becoming illuminated. And it's not because of the Illuminati. It's this quest that they will become the light. Okay, so Jesus gave the path for how to get to the light. All right, and the thing is his path isn't as exciting to everyone as it is going on some Indiana Jones quest for the Holy Grail and, then I'm going to have all the answers to the universe. No, you have them in here. You may not be given all those answers right at every given moment that you want it, but it starts with having a relationship with God, as I always say. Just like any relationship that's important to you, you have to invest time in it. You have to make it of an importance to you. And then God knows, and then, it's a give and take thing. I've said before, it can't explain it. You have to go down that journey. A part of it is when you go inside, you have to look at you. Most of this world doesn't want to do that. Most of this world wants some quick fix to being illuminated. Joe Rogan and Peterson, Jordan Peterson advocate taking LSD to be illuminated, to have a spiritual experience. First of all, that's not a real spiritual experience, and that's just a lazy one. It's one that's saying, I don't want to have to work at it. I want a quick way to get to it. And that's what this world's been trained to do, is give me a pill, give me the alcohol that'll make me feel enlightened, but it's a fake enlightenment. Because part of what you have to do too is that you have to look at you, not just who you are, but part of knowing who you are is looking at your character defects without blaming anybody else. You have to literally say, I'm really bad with this. You do. You have to look at your own garbage, because in order for the light to come in, you have to clear that garbage away so that the light it's not an obstacle to the light. So although finding, these certain Christendom relics would maybe be helpful in us understanding history more, it will not bring illumination. And even though many of these groups may start out to be decent, that's where they're missing it, is that it's the illumination isn't out here, it's in here. And if we had leadership heading up our institutions that were illuminated, we would not be in the place we are right now. But because the leadership we have at the top of nursing, the top of healthcare, the hospital system, the education system, our politicians, all of that, they are all people that have no insight into themselves. And when you put somebody that has no insight into themselves but believes they know best because they have 25 letters after their name, then what you will end up getting is just somebody that's not going to think for themselves, because part of being enlightened is being able to think for yourself. No matter what the science says, I can think for myself and say, you know what, this doesn't make sense. No matter what they say, this doesn't make sense. I've done that so much with some of the stuff nursing comes out with in psych. It's like, this makes no sense. And, it baffles you. But then I've realized through, the last several years that the problem is the very people that come up with this stuff, they have no insight into themselves. So all of those letters after their name means very little because they become incompetent. And then because they have no insight, that disease ends up spreading into all of nursing. And then everybody just does, oh, well, this is what I have to do. That's what they told me to do. So it stupefies everyone. And then you end up in this place where, because of a failure of leadership at all of the highest of levels, and the failure isn't because they don't have the education. They have it. But education will not bring enlightenment. It brings some bit of academia for you to know a skill or know an area, whatever your specialty is in. But it is not being enlightened. Enlightened is a personal journey, which is why Jesus knew this. I mean, they were selling Jesus's clothes while he was still dying on the cross. They were selling his clothes. So he knew what this world would do. That's why he wasn't about building a church at a certain location. He knew somebody would take it over. He knew if people find these relics, that's what they will turn. They will not go the path that he wanted them to go, which is within. Which is why many times the people that find that path, it's people that are like, alcoholics that reach, the bottom, and they're desperate. The 12 steps brought me to enlightenment. It did, but it meant having to go within. Much of it was within. It was, no, you're not blaming everybody else now. You have to, not just for drinking, but you have to look at your whole past so you can clear all that out so that the light can come in. So there's things that this world doesn't want to do. They'd rather have the quick fix. But that's not a true spiritual awakening or enlightenment. So I think that what the founders at 1776 founders wanted was a country with spiritually enlightened people, because they recognized that it was that spiritual enlightenment that would truly be the best leaders for the country, the best leaders for different institutions, because then you can add the education to that if you want. I mean, obviously for that certain sector area, but it would need to be people that knew themselves, that did understand that light, that because it is that light that gives you the answers. You may not get all the answers you want in one fell swoop, but over time, as you build on that relationship, that light becomes stronger, that illumination becomes stronger, and you know more and more. So that's really what the problem is that we have people that have massive amounts of education, but because they have no insight into who they are and they have no illumination, they take everybody down the wrong path, whether intentional or not. You are the light. You have to go within.